Welcome back to another episode of the Frustrated CEO podcast. My name is Patrick Lyons. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm here with my esteemed colleagues and a guest today. Let me first introduce our colleagues. Patsy Feeman, welcome to you.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here today.
Yeah, glad to have you. And of course, last week's guest. This week, Leb, you're just back into the co-host seat, no longer on the hot seat. Welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Patrick. Really happy to be here. Excited to be here today.
Yeah, me too. So today we're going to talk about how to create an incredibly fun and supportive culture. And to do that, we have with us Drew Harden, who is the president and co-founder of Blue Compass. Drew has grown and guided the company from a two-person startup in 2007 to one of the Midwest's leading digital marketing companies today. Drew is a published author. He speaks at marketing conferences around the country. He's been cited by publications like USA Today, and he has led web projects for clients like Spalding Sports Equipment, Napa Auto Parts, and the NFL. Drew Harden, president and co-founder of Blue Compass. Welcome to the Frustrated CEO podcast.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thanks, guys. It's great to be here with you.
Welcome.
Yeah. So, listener, I first came across Drew and Blue Compass on LinkedIn, where one of Drew's social media posts caught my eye. If you haven't seen it, it's a video of what looks like an all-company meeting. It looks like all 37 of your employees, Drew, are there. And the camera slowly pans from left to right. And the entire video, every single employee is laughing out loud, some hysterically, some even wiping tears away from their eyes. Now, the video ends centered on your business partner, Carrie Coppola, who I found out later is who everyone is laughing at. And he's actually laughing harder than anyone. So when I saw the video, I reached out to Drew. I thought, who better to help talk about injecting fun into the culture and creating a supportive culture as well than the man who posted that video. So Drew, you and your business partner, you founded Blue Compass after working together somewhere else where you've described it, there was a lot of drama and gossip. Talk about the impact that drama and gossip had on the people, had on the culture, job satisfaction. And then how did that influence what you and Carrie wanted to create at Blue Compass?
When we started working at this organization, I started working there as an intern when I was 19. And so I ended up, my internship, and then they hired me after college. So I worked there about 6 years or so. And, when I started out, I thought the culture was quite good. I loved it, learned a lot there. I'm thankful for my time there. But as the years went on, I noticed there started to be a little more drama, a little more gossip creeping in. And I noticed that eventually, when I would drive home at night, it would feel really taxing. It would feel just very negative, just everything throughout the day that I had experienced. And that made a big impact on me. And so when Carrie, my business partner, and I, we both worked there. And in 2007, I asked him if he wanted to start another place. And, our goals were, first of all, to create a great organization that did incredible digital marketing and showed people a clear direction for their online presence. But we also, our second goal was just to have a fun, positive work environment that we just love to go to. And so, the negative effects that we saw on ourselves and others because of that really, I think, really empowered us and really motivated us to be very purposeful about our culture at Blue Compass. And so we started out as just the two of us. This is 2007. We worked out of our homes. And in 2008, we did well enough. We were able to get a small office. And then we started hiring a few people, moved into another office, hired a few more people, and kept growing over the years. And the culture was always fantastic at Blue Compass. I mean, we would laugh all the time. There was so much camaraderie. It was just very positive. In 2012, we had about 8 people on our team. And then what I always think is the best and worst thing that ever happened to us occurred, which is we got an absolutely enormous client, a really big client. And it was very exciting. We had never had a client this big. This was a huge account. But we had to immediately grow. So we went to 16 people right away. And that was the first time I started to notice after that a little bit of drama creeping in, a little bit of gossip creeping in. And it turned out that just the power of my personality is not enough to fuel an incredibly awesome company culture. And I learned after that you have to be very purposeful and strategic about it and just how important it is. And so as we continue to grow now, we have way more people than that, but as we continue to grow, we identified our values and our mission and got really serious about them. We removed some people that weren't the right fit, and we really, really worked on the culture. And since then, things improved, and they've been tremendous over the last number of years, for which I've been thankful. But I realized, Patrick, that for me, as the president of this company, my number one purpose is to make our mission and values known to our team, so that they can live them out, to live them out myself, and to help them do the same. And when we can create a positive workplace that's supportive, where people aren't looking over their shoulders like people are going to take their credit, where people smile and just enjoy being here, that enables people to have the freedom to do their best work, to take creative risks, and they want to go out of their way to help other people. And so I learned the hard way that company culture is essential, and you got to work really, really hard to get there.
So I'm curious, that working really, really hard is a moment by moment commitment.
Yeah.
So what have you found that has supported you to maintain that positive culture, and what have you found hasn't worked?
Yeah, great question. Well, I had one of the things I try to do, as the president, is have coffee and or lunch with everyone on our team regularly. And so I'll sit down individually with each person and listen. And I think that's incredibly important, as a leader, for me to do. People want to be heard. And it's not just for them, it's also for me, because I get a perspective that I don't normally get. And I think that's one of the first steps, is to make sure people are heard and make sure people have a voice.
Great.
And sometimes people don't even have something particularly to say, but they still want to know they can have a voice. And I think that's really important.
Great.
So a couple days ago, I had coffee with one of our new team members on our digital marketing team, who has been here for about 90 days now. And she said, I asked her how it's going, what's working, what's not. And she said, this is better than I anticipated. She said, I've never worked at a place where people are so excited to be there and they don't want to not be there. And she was so excited that she took the role and everything. And she mentioned, she interviewed at a few other places. And when she would ask them about culture, they would answer things like, oh, we have a ping pong table. And so, I learned that culture isn't a ping pong table. It's not having beer on Fridays, but culture is something that is every moment of every day.
Right.
You feel it, you can see it. It's something you experience when you interact with people. It's a mentality and it's an experience. It's not just one thing. It's not benefits. It's not your salary. That can be a part of it. All these things can be part of it. But I found especially that young people value experience over benefits. And everyone wants to have a good culture, but especially younger people, I think they really, really desire it.
It's great.
So do
Wish I did digital marketing.
Yeah. And we were younger, right?
Yeah, both.
Now, Drew, you have a ping pong table. Right?
Yeah, if you have a ping pong table, I'll send you an application just in case. We'll see.
Okay, thanks. Good.
That's good. That's good. So you mentioned that there were some people that didn't quite fit. And, a lot of people talk about hiring, as a culture fit process. So you would be super sensitive to that, given how intentional you're describing you are about the culture. Can you share anything with our listeners about how you hire, how you knew it was the right time to have someone exit who just wasn't lifting or living the values and the keeping that energy and that special place special?
Absolutely. You can teach skills, but you can't teach personality. And so if we interview someone who has fantastic skills, they're just a rock star,
Mm-hmm.
but we're starting to see some red flags and they don't seem to be entirely fitting or bought into one or more of our values, then they're probably not the right fit. We would rather hire someone who's supportive, who's positive, who wants to grow their expertise, who wants to give clients their best, and who rejects drama and gossip than someone who is absolutely fantastic with skills but lacks one of those things. We can teach the skills, but it's difficult to get someone to buy into something if they don't initially believe it. So we want to know people's, what do they value? What are their beliefs? How do they feel about our 5 values? Which one is most important to them? I think that's really important. So when you interview, it's absolutely important to understand what type of person they are. And, it might be an incredible, wonderful person, but maybe they're still not right for your organization. Maybe they don't quite fit into your values, and that's fine. And, it's not necessarily wrong if someone isn't right for Blue Compass. They're just not right for Blue Compass. I'm sure they're great for another organization. But that is something that really drives us. And so we make sure to do numerous interviews. We have many people on our team involved in the interview. Try to do as many references as we can. And if we can find references they don't list down, we'll check those as well. And, we'll try to interview them, at least one interview, at a restaurant or coffee shop or elsewhere, just to get in a different environment. And so, like you said, the person you let onto your team has such a great impact on the rest of the people on your team. Whether you're remote, whether you're in person, it doesn't matter. And, we generally want to work with people that we like and that like us. And they say, one bad apple spoils the bunch. And I think it's absolutely true. And interviewing and hiring is an art. And I don't think anyone is perfect at it. And these days, we've gotten really good at it. And usually, our hires will be wonderful and they'll work with us for many years. But occasionally too, we will hire someone who's not quite the right fit. And if that happens, I think it's really important for us to communicate with that person over and over again, make expectations really clear, and work together with them to try to get them where they need to be. And I think if you let someone go, it should never be a surprise to them. It should be very clear. It should be expected, because you worked so hard to try to make it work, to try to get them where they need to be. But sometimes it has to happen, unfortunately. Sometimes an organization does have to release someone, and that's difficult, and we never want to have to do that, but occasionally we have. And it's tough, but sometimes releasing someone is one of the kindest things that you can do, and maybe there's other opportunities. And, if that ever happens to us, I'm always happy to help that person find work elsewhere, to do what I can. And we all have that same mentality and attitude towards it.
Yeah. Thank you, Drew. I totally get that. Respect that.
Drew, on your, I saw a video on your website talking about the 2 main goals that drive everything at Blue Compass. The first is providing good organizations with a clear digital direction. And the second, and it's actually what I took, was what we took to use as the title of today's episode, which is, the second is have an incredibly fun and supportive company culture. So a little opportunity to brag about what you do for living, for your customers, and what you do for your employees. What are some of the ways that you do both of those things? Provide clear digital direction, and then how do you create? What are some of the ways that you've created an incredibly fun and supportive company culture?
Great question. Well, first of all, so Yeah, we exist to give good organizations a clear digital direction. And so we do that through services like web design, development, digital marketing, like search engine optimization is really big for us, content marketing, online ads. And so that's kind of our bread and butter. And we're really big on conversions. We want to know, what do our clients feel like success is? What do they want to see happen on their website? Each and every day, we have a full team of people that get more qualified people to come to our clients' websites and then get them to convert on those websites. So in other words, to accomplish the action that our client wants them to accomplish. So that could be purchasing a product or filling out a form, generating a lead, signing up for an event, anything like that. So that's what we do. We're really good at it. And we've learned a lot over the years. And it's really exciting. I mean, we follow organizations like Google and Facebook very closely. We're very aware of any algorithm changes that they have, because one tweak to the Google algorithm can mean a difference of thousands of visitors to one of our clients' websites, and that can impact their bottom line significantly. So we have to stay up on it. But it's really fun. We love doing it. In regards to a fun and supportive culture, well, there's a lot of things we do. I mentioned our values. I think that's really crucial. Another thing that we're real big on is appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's ever left in an organization because they've been too appreciated. So that's something we try to live by, showing gratitude to our team members, appreciating them, giving them shout outs. Praise is really powerful. That's one of the ways we keep our organization good. And I think, one of the best ways a leader can get a behavior from someone else is to do that behavior themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I really want my team members to be appreciative, to praise one another, I should probably do that too. So I try to do a good job of that. I'm not perfect, but I certainly try to do my very best at noticing when something good happens and then calling it out. I think it's a missed opportunity probably any time in life when we see someone do something amazing and we think in our head, oh, that was really cool. I'm glad they did that, but we don't say anything.
Yeah.
So like if you see something positive, say something positive. So I try to follow that the best I can. In addition to that, just generating as much joy in the office as we can. And I think one of the best metrics of a healthy office is laughter. And we have a lot of laughter here at Blue Compass. Maybe even too much sometimes. It can get pretty loud in here. So, Carrie and I have always, we get along really well. We're friends, and we've always just been silly. We've teased each other. We joke with each other. We'll mock each other in very friendly ways when we're in front of team members. We'll make fun of each other. But it's all in jest. And, I think the team sees that. And because of that, our culture is very jovial. There's a lot of jokes. There's a lot of inside jokes. A lot of pranks will happen. People, a lot of scares happen in the office. So people will jump out and scare someone else.
Oh my gosh.
And some of our team members like to do that more than others, but just silly stuff like that will happen. We have dogs in the office. Every day we have at least 1 or 2 dogs. We had like 3 in our office today. So we have a dog friendly office. I think that over the years, somehow we all got the idea that work is supposed to be boring and we're supposed to look forward to Saturday and Sunday, but not the rest of the week. And I dream of a world where Mondays and Fridays are seen in the same light. And that's what I get to experience every day. I love my job. That's a huge blessing. I'm really thankful for that. And we're not perfect, but we do our best to have a lot of fun here at Blue Compass. And I think part of that too, I'm giving a really long-winded answer.
No,
I think
great.
I think part of the recipe of really having a lot of fun in the office is surprise. I found over the years that when you add surprise or spontaneity to anything, it will heighten the experience and the emotions. So, I mean, if something very negative happens and it's a surprise, I think it's even more negative than otherwise. And same with positive. And so as a general rule, when we plan something fun, or when I do something fun or silly or whatever, try to make it a surprise. Try not to announce it ahead of time. And Patrick, you mentioned that video that all our team was watching. Harry, my business partner, he was on vacation. And so we filmed a video about him where one of us played Carrie and interacted with me and went around the office and just played on all his eccentricities. And that's what we were all laughing about. And I didn't tell Carrie and only involved a few people. And most people had no idea that video was coming. And I think it was probably a little more fun because of that. And yeah, I have a lot of examples of crazy things we've done very spontaneously. But I think, if you have an organization or if you're a manager or whatever, if you add a little bit of spontaneity and surprise to any positive thing you do, I think that can heighten it. If you're going to bring in a coffee for one of your team members, if you call them ahead of time or message them and say, hey, I'm bringing you coffee, that's fine. But I think they'll appreciate it even more if they just find it on their desk when they arrive because they didn't anticipate it. They might already have a coffee. It might not even be their favorite. But if I bring someone a coffee, I'll never tell them it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So I'm listening to all this. I mean, maybe it's interesting to our listeners as well. Could you, Drew, run through what the 5 values are? And
yeah,
and here's what's tagged along with that. We walk into a lot of companies that have, values.
Yep.
But they don't have a description of what it means to live them out.
Sure.
So a lot of people are interpreting in their own way. This is how we live integrity, and so you're taking it further and you're putting it in this very valuable, but also lighthearted kind of place.
Yeah.
And I think it would help our listeners if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Great question, Leb. Okay. So we have 5 value statements. And the first one is we are positive.
Yeah.
The second one is we support one another. The third is we grow our expertise. The fourth is we give clients our best. And the fifth, and usually people's favorite, is we reject drama and gossip. So those are our 5 values. And I think if you just have values in your office and you just have them hanging on the wall, or if they're just in the handbook and that's it, that probably isn't enough. You need to make them known and live them out yourself. And so there's a lot of ways that we do that. And one of the ways is in our team meetings. When we have a team meeting together, which we have regular team meetings, every team meeting starts out with a review of our mission and then listing out of our 5 values. And then I will give an example of someone on our team that lived out that value since we met last. And so if I say, we are positive, one of the ways we saw positivity in the last month is Jay, who took it upon himself to jump in and help this person for this reason, even though he didn't have to, and he stayed late or something like that, So we give examples for each one. And that's just one of the ways we try to make them more known. Our team's probably tired of hearing me talk about them because I do talk about them a lot and try to live them out myself. So I think you're right, Leb. It's not just enough to have a vague value. You have to reference it a lot. You have to live it out, and you have to define it.
Yeah, that's excellent. So another question. I'm just kind of peeling this back a little bit. So all of us have been going through a lot, especially over the last 2 years, right? And so what I'm hearing as an example about being positive is you might come in not feeling great about something, but you can still be positive within the context of your relationships with each other. So again, for listeners, it seems like there's something in the culture that you're creating that helps draw the distinctions or allows for a person to say, today's not my best day, or can you just say anything about how that works out?
Yeah. Well, we are positive is our first value. And I think there's incredible value in looking at the bright side. I've
Okay.
never been in a bookstore before and seen a section about how to think negative, but I have seen sections.
Uh,
Humans are really, really good at thinking negative. I'm really good at looking at the bad side and thinking negatively about things. It's really easy for my head to fill with what if negative thoughts. And so the reason we focus on positivity so much, something Zig Ziglar said many years ago, he said, being positive will allow you to do everything better than being negative will.
Mhm.
And there's so much negativity out there.
Mhm.
My gosh, we all know that. We see that all the time. There's so much negativity. I want people to come into Blue Compass and feel like, there's not going to be a lot of complaining, not going to be a lot of negativity and bad stuff that's happening here. This is generally going to be a place where I can smile and be myself. And that doesn't mean that we're not realistic. I think we still need to be realistic about things.
Mhm.
But if something bad happens, I want us to acknowledge it, to learn from it, but not to dwell on it. Let's move on. Let's learn from that. Let's be happy and smile. Let's be joyful. I think being positive enables us to enjoy our work more and enables us just to generally do a better job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So a few weeks ago, when I was traveling, I actually was just happened to be in the same city as Blue Compass, and Drew and I connected, knowing that you were going to be on the show. And I stopped in. You gave me a tour. Thank you. I appreciated that. To this day, it remains the only company that I've ever been in that actually literally had multiple swings hanging from the ceiling. I thought that was kind of cool for the employees to use. I thought that was neat. So I want to talk about your team for a moment. I got to see the team in action, got to meet some of the folks on the team, and obviously everybody's important. No one is more important than anyone else. But I want to ask you specifically about one particular employee, Laura. Laura was at the front desk. And when I walked in the front door, I was greeted by one of the biggest, friendliest smiles I can remember. And Laura called out my name before the door even closed behind me. She lit up and she said, "You must be Patrick." And I thought, gosh, if I could get greeted like that at home, how awesome would that be? How important, again, for our listeners, how important is that first impression? I think just the fact that I'm talking about it, and this was 2-3 weeks ago, it stuck with me. It really was. It was impressionable. How important is that first impression for you when someone walks into Blue Compass? And then for a CEO who's listening, thinking, we don't have that. I wish I had that. How do you get someone to deliver that kind of wow?
Yeah. Well, Laura's amazing. I think the answer is probably hire amazing, fantastic people who love your brand and who love other people. I think that's probably the answer. But Laura's fantastic. And she is a representation of our brand. I mean, when she walks in, and every person on your team is a representation of your brand. And I think that's extremely important. And so we're really proud to have her on our team and have her, give people that experience when they walk in. I'm glad she called you by name, and it is amazing when you call someone by name, when you say, "Hi, Patrick," instead of just saying hi. I mean, that makes a big difference. We all know that.
Mhm.
We love it when other people reference us and say our names and things like that. So, she's been fantastic because she buys into the great company culture. And she has helped us, and she has really helped me take that and run with it. I couldn't do it by myself. This isn't all about me. I'm just one guy. Our team is really who makes our culture great. I just gave it an initial push. And so she's a great example of that. And she's not the only one here who would have greeted so warmly. Mm-hmm. So it's really more about the team than it is me.
But I think you make a great point. And tying this back to the listener who's thinking, yeah, we don't have time to be fun, or I don't want there to be more fun than productivity, or or fun for the sake of fun.
Yeah.
What you're saying, you've got someone who is the front door to your business.
Yeah.
She's a representative of you, the culture, everybody else there, because she's the first impression. And as the product of that culture, everyone who walks in the door has a great first experience, right? So you're instantly, you're instantly ahead of the game. You're ahead of the competition that doesn't have a fun and supportive culture. So there really is again, it isn't just fun for the sake of fun. There's a reason. There's a benefit to building a business that is fun and supportive. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Of course there is. I think the old school, people used to not think about culture that much, and fun seemed like kind of a bad thing at work. But why should it be? Like, why shouldn't it be fun at work? Why do we have to assume that fun is on the weekends and fun is when you're home or when you're out? Work can and it should be fun. It should be a good time. It should be enjoyable, because when you're happy, when you're having a good time, you're going to do better work. You're going to enjoy it more, and you probably work harder for those who you feel are really supportive of you. And so, I've read a lot about, having meetings and getting right to the point and being very focused and everything. And there's definitely something to that. I mean, we don't want to stand around and talk all day and waste time. But we never shut down small talk at the beginning of meetings. We never shut people down when they're joking with each other in the hallways or anything like that. I think that that's incredibly important. And again, we can't do it all day, but when you laugh with someone, when you ask how their weekend is going, when you interact with them, when you share with them, that's absolutely fantastic. You'll get to know them better. You'll build a relationship with them. You'll appreciate them. And that's what we want to build here at Blue Compass. We want people who have fantastic relationships with one another, who appreciate each other. We don't want departments that fight with each other. I see that happen a lot at corporations. Rivalries in the office. I mean, we don't want that. That's really destructive, but that's so prevalent. So if we can get people on the same page to enjoy each other, I think that it'll all work out really well. And I think it will help us ultimately be more successful and more profitable as well.
So in listening to you, it's reminding me that when you have a culture like you're talking about, it promotes innovation and creativity, or is more likely to create innovation and creativity. I'm wondering how that plays out in your organization, if you're seeing things like that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially for us. So, I mean, we're a digital marketing agency. We're doing unique designs and campaigns and things like that for our clients. And I agree. I mean, if you have an office that's filled with people who only say what's necessary to complete business objectives, it's probably not particularly fun or creative. But in a place like this that's a little more fun and spontaneous and energetic, that that creativity is here whether you want it or not. I mean, there's creativity all over the place. So I
Great,
That's
thanks.
good. How does this translate to your customers? Your clients?
So I that's a great question, Leb. I believe that it's very difficult for the team to love. Oh, let me say that again. I believe it's very difficult for the client to love the company before the team does. It's difficult for the clients to love the company before the team does. And so my mentality is put the team first. I think putting the team first is the best way to ultimately put the client first. Because if we treat our team really well, if we show them appreciation and support, then they will do the same thing to our clients. And I think we see that. And we have clients all the time tell us, man, I can't believe your culture. There's so much energy when we walk in your office. It's so much fun. Like, we really love this place. We've had prospects tell us before that we won the project because of the culture. It's not every time, but we certainly had prospects tell us that as well. So, I mean, I think generally people want to work with companies that are positive and have people who like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Drew, we talked about the name of the episode and that second goal for your company. The first part of it is an incredibly fun, and the second part is and supportive culture. Talk about is it the same thing, or are there different ways that you lay the foundation for a company that support, or a team that supports each other? How do you and then what does that look like in the day-to-day or the week-to-week?
Towards the end of last year, my business partner and I, we decided we should do something to show a little appreciation to our team. And so we designed and ordered massive 20-foot by 10-foot banners that had each person's picture on it and had an individualized message. And we thought this would be so cool if we hung these on different buildings around town and they saw them. And then we thought, well, actually it'd be even better if we climbed up on those buildings and then we waited for them to come and threw it over the edge. That'd be really cool. And we filmed it all. and so we did that. And we got all these banners. So we started on top of the Blue Compass building. So we got up there. It was a October morning. And we decided that Katrina, our digital marketing manager, would be the first one to see one of these banners. And so she arrives pretty early. So we decided we better get here really early. So we got up on the roof by 7 a.m. and we hadn't done this before. These were really big and really heavy. And so I don't know, I assumed that when I got up on the roof, there would be a nice little edge that I could kind of duck behind, but there's no edge. I mean, it went directly down. It had rained the night before and it was a little cold, and I was dressed pretty nicely too. So I got up there and I couldn't really lay down or sit down. So we're just standing up there trying not to fall. And 7:30 rolled around. She didn't show up. 8 o'clock rolled around. She didn't show up. 8:30 rolled around. She didn't show up. Finally, 8:45 she rolled up. So it's she's always so early. I don't know why she wasn't there till 8:30 that day. And she got out of her car. And so we kind of crouched down and unrolled the banner over the edge of the building. The banner rolled down. Thankfully, everything went well. We didn't go with it, so that was positive. And she looked up and she was absolutely surprised. So again, this goes into the surprise thing. And her dog Mac was with her. He did not appreciate it, but she really did. She thought it was pretty cool. Actually, if you go to our About Us page, so bluecompass.com, and go to our About Us page, I believe this video is currently on there if you want to see this experience. But we started doing this for all our different team members. And it was a weird thing to do. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of budget. But we figured this is just kind of a fun way to show our appreciation for them and also show people around the community. We really like our team members. These are great people. And so I think that is the mentality we have when it comes to gratitude here. And when it comes to supporting and appreciating our team members. So from the top, I mean, that's what we try to do. And I think we see that throughout the rest of the team as well. And generally everyone's here is really appreciative of one another. And one of the things I really like seeing here, since this is so much part of our culture, is when someone here stays past 5 o'clock, I almost always hear someone else come up and say, "Hey, can I help you with anything?" And that's just, you don't have to do big, spontaneous, crazy things like we do, but just something like that, asking someone if they need help after 5 is pretty powerful.
Yeah. I just actually recently heard that. I heard the opposite. I heard, there's some load balancing issues in an organization, and you have some employees that are staying long after, and you have others that are not. And there's resentment that builds.
Yeah.
Because the employees don't have the team members don't have the ability to move the work around. They're kind of expecting either their leaders to support that, to help address that, or they're wanting their team members to step up and go, "Hey, what can I take on for you?" And so in the absence of that, it can be very isolating. It can be You can begin to feel unsupported. I mean, it's the exact opposite of what you just described. So I have to know, what did you do with the banners when you were all done?
We still have them. It's like, I mean, maybe we'll use them again someday. I think I would like to go hang them all from our building. I don't know if we could all fit all of them around our building, but we'll have to do that someday. But it's kind of the type of thing that it's not like you're pulling them out every day. So we have them in storage. We'll use them again sometimes, but I don't know, it was worth it.
That's great. That's a great story.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about diversity for a minute, and have you learned anything about, let's use, the different categories of age?
Yeah.
It seems like you have to at least be young at heart. But I want to take it a little further for our listeners.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you do have to be young at heart, at least at Blue Compass. And that's not to say you have to be young at heart wherever you are or whatever you do, but that is part of our culture. It is a place where people generally have a younger mentality, and our team members are generally younger as well. But we have older people as well. We have some older people, and so I don't know if it's as much about age as it is, like you said, Leb, maybe being young at heart and just appreciating the values that we have. And we have someone on our team who's right outside my office here who's 50, and we have someone else not too far away who's 22, and that's a pretty big gap. But I think having that age difference is nice. There's a huge difference in mentality and a big diversity of thought there. And here especially, I mean, we will work on social platforms that are generally used by very young people that maybe some of our older people here aren't as familiar with, and vice versa. There's incredible wisdom that comes with age that we greatly value. And so it doesn't matter your age. I think there's always something you can offer because of your age.
Yeah. Thank you.
And following on the heels of that, you had mentioned earlier that good percentage of your workforce is younger, but trying to understand their needs. So understanding the needs and the kind of priorities of each of the different groups of people, whether it's age or other priorities in your workforce. Can you speak a little to that?
Yeah. Can you specify a bit what you're looking for there?
Well, you had said that the younger generation is really interested in the experience, is interested more in purpose, is interested more in a kind of, you didn't use the word work-life, but in work-life balance.
Yeah.
So,
So sorry,
yeah.
Specifically, what have I found work with younger team members?
No, it's more like taking the time, it goes back to listening, to understand what the different generations are really wanting out of their work experience.
Sure. Well, right. It's different. And I do think, of course, it depends on the individual. It doesn't matter what generation you are. Every individual is different. But generally, Gen Z, younger people are looking for, like you said, they're more interested in experiences often than benefits. I think we've seen that before. And Gen Z also seems to be incredibly interested in communication. I mean, everyone is, but even more so. They want to be communicated with. They want to know what's going on. I think we've seen that as well. And I think sometimes, younger people can be a bit more anxious than people who are a bit older. I think, as years go on, sometimes people who've been around a little longer realize, it generally all works out. It's going to be okay. And I think that's something sometimes that comes with age. As I've gotten older, I've been able to handle stress better, and I've been able to have more of that mentality as well. And so I think, yeah, that's absolutely true. Different ages generally can denote different qualities. And I think we have to be aware of that, and all of us have to be aware of that when we work with other people. It doesn't matter what age you are. There's probably positives and minuses that come with that. And but deep down, I think it's all about getting to know the person and understanding who they are, and understanding what works with them and what doesn't. One of the things, Patsy, that we did here is we had everyone on our team write down 3 things you should know about working with me.
Oh, cool.
And we wrote them all down. We shared all of them together. And I mean, everyone has their little quirks.
Yep.
Everyone has, one of my things was I will always answer your questions with questions of my own. I'm known as a big question asker. And so it's probably good if people know that. And so everyone shared their qualities. And then in our departments, we sat down and talked about them as well. And we haven't posted them publicly, or not publicly, but internally. I'd like to put them up on our wall or somewhere where we can all see them. We need to do something like that. But that's something else, Patsy, that your comment made me think of. Everyone has their quirks, and it's kind of nice to share that with others.
Yep. No, that's perfect. Right.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
All right. One last question for me, but just an opportunity to, again, talk about how you've created this kind of culture for a listener who's looking for or thinking about their own ideas. I know for a fact that Blue Compass does not have an open door policy, and it's because of a unique characteristic of the office itself. Talk about that.
That is true. We do not have an open door policy at Blue Compass. We have a no door policy. When we built out our office, we were very purposeful about not putting doors on our offices. We have a couple doors in here, like, the front door and a door in a conference room, but we want everyone to feel heard, and we want there to be no barriers. And so that was why we made that decision. And it might be a little thing, but I feel like just seeing the lack of doors and the openness denotes the importance of listening and having your voice heard.
And that goes for your office too, right? Yours and Carrie's.
That's correct. That's right. I'm sitting in it right now, and there's definitely no door on the office.
Okay. So for the CEO or the listener, the senior leader who's listening, who's thinking, I could never do that. Like, I have my calls. I've got client calls that I need to take. How does that? Clearly, there are benefits. Do you find that to be sometimes where you're like, man, I wish I had a door?
Well, I'm probably not important enough to have that kind of those kind of calls and things like that. So maybe it doesn't affect me as much. But I mean, maybe there's been a time or two where it'd be handy to have a door. And, maybe for some people it just wouldn't work, and that's fine. I'm not saying that everyone needs to rip the doors off of their offices. But for me, if I do need to take a sensitive call or have a sensitive conversation, then I just go into a conference room, or we have a number of rooms around here that I could use, and that would be fine. I feel the visual of no doors and the practice of listening outweighs any negatives that not having a door might bring.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Lab or Patsy, any other questions that you want to pepper Drew with?
Oh, I think we could keep going for another hour or two, but I think it might be time for let's get practical.
Talk about this stuff all day. That's right.
Yes.
It is good stuff. Well, okay. So then if we do round third and start to make way for home, Drew, this is the part of every show where we start talking about getting practical, right? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Like a lot of really cool ideas. Thank you for your history and sharing some of what you're doing. But if somebody's listening and all they do is listen, be entertained, and turn off, and nothing happens, then the question we always ask ourselves is, what good have we done? So what are some 2 or 3, 4, however many you want to throw in, what are some practical steps that a listener, a leader could take starting today, starting tomorrow, to begin to create a more fun and supportive company culture? Or, any other ideas or suggestions you might have even beyond that? For what advice would you give to a listener?
Be spontaneously grateful.
Cool.
Show your appreciation for team members when they do something well. Bring them a random coffee in the morning without telling them. Write them a note, write them a card that says, hey, I'm really thankful you're on the team and I enjoy working with you. Just little things like that. You don't have to throw banners over the side of the building. Something like small like that can really make a difference. You know, sometimes I'm amazed by, you know, a team member that repeats back a kind word I said to them like 6 years ago. And I'm like, I don't even remember that, but it makes a big difference with others. I have little stickers in my office, and they're little like thank you stickers. I say like, you're awesome, or you know, love working with you. It's just stuff like that. And occasionally I'll put those on a card or a coffee or something like that I give someone. And there's so many people that have those like on their desks or their notebooks or their computer, like they put it on their laptop. And to me, maybe, I mean, I genuinely meant it, but it seems like a small thing, but that can mean the world. So if you are a leader or a manager, just the small things that you say or do mean more than sometimes you think they do. So I think be spontaneously grateful. And then another thing I would say is be purposeful about having some fun and about not thinking about the numbers and not working on your checklist for a little bit. And, you know, plan a trivia game with your department and give away a gift card to the winner, or plan a wine and cheese o'clock, or hire a singing quartet to come in randomly for one of your coworkers that's having a birthday. Like anything like that, I think is memorable and it's so much fun. But one of the best things about it is it's not like a one-time thing. You're going to remember it for years to come. I saw a study recently and it showed that people derive more happiness from experience than from things. And so often we have these corporations and businesses that think, let's solve this with the salary increase, or let's solve this with more paternity leave. And those are great things. I'm not saying those are not good. And maybe those are fantastic solutions, but those are also easy solutions. And I think perhaps in addition to that, doing something really heartfelt can be touching and more meaningful to someone.
That's great. Any others? I don't want to cut you off. You're on a roll.
No, I've gone on and on. We're gonna have the longest episode ever, so that's what
You were supposed to go on and on. You're the guest, so that's good. Yes.
So Patrick, what would you add to that?
Oh, okay. Well, right out of the gate, and this has come up on other shows we've talked about. Gossip and drama are taxing to your people and your culture. They're toxic. They drain. Not only do they impact the culture collectively, but Drew, you talked about driving home at the end of the day and just feeling like this is hard, like this is draining. So be aware that those things have an impact on your culture, especially when you let them go on too long. I love this one because a lot of CEOs are CEOs because they're big personalities, but your incredibly powerful personality isn't enough to create a great culture. I thought that was great. You need to be intentional about it. You need to. It's more than just being a big personality. Culture is more than a ping pong table. It's not salary and benefits. It's not things. It's what you experience every minute of every day. I thought that was really good too. I have a bunch. I'll do one more and then I'll pause and let my colleagues go. Drew, you actually were talking about this, the appreciation. I would just add to that one. No one's ever left your organization because they've been too appreciated. I just thought that was a really good quote. So I'm going to tack that on to what you said earlier. And I'll pause. Patsy, you go. What do you got?
You can teach skills, but you can't teach personality. So I thought that was really good. And hiring for values takes being intentional about how many interviews and where you interview and who interviews you. So it's not like a one interview fits all. Let's see. one that's dear to my heart is that your physical environment can support your culture.
Yep.
So it's not only listening, it's like how do we support our culture in every single aspect?
Yeah.
Another is I loved what will success look like for your clients? Ask them. It's so easy to assume we know, but let's ask them. And I would say clients and employees. And then the last one is I love the idea of having each employee say, what are the 3 things you should know about working with me? Talk about getting practical right after we end. That's a really good way to get practical.
Agreed.
So, Gleb, what do you got?
Are you kidding?
Did we leave you anything?
No, it's not the
We
best
left you
use.
plenty.
Well, capture some fun on video, so you can share it, you can remember it, you can repurpose it. That was one of them. I too love the notion of having everyone write out 3 things that you should know about me. And maybe that's periodic because we keep changing and growing. But I really love that. I put it as just don't be afraid to be spontaneous. We live in a business world where there's a lot of planning going on. And I love that you do that and support that and ask for it. Have many people participate in interviews, so that because different people will pick up on different things and ask different questions, and I think that's really valuable. And almost everything else got said, but the last one is take your doors off.
I like it. I did have one more I want to circle back because I thought it was a really good point, and I know it's something that each of us has seen done poorly, if I can say it that way. You say, when you make a bad hire, or not a bad hire, when you hire somebody that ultimately doesn't fit the culture, you really own having to help that person fit, right? With the expectations, supporting them, the ongoing conversations. But the most important part of that, I thought, was if you ultimately need to let that person go, you said it should never be a surprise and it should always be expected. And I think that's where we see a lot of organizations fall short, make mistakes, where they think, I've even heard leaders say, well, how could they not know? Well, it should, it still happens, right? You still have people who are surprised. And that alone, letting someone go where it is a surprise, where it's not expected, that can significantly hurt your culture. So I just thought that was really eloquent and a great point that you made. Any other, Drew?
I got one more, Patrick. I just
Okay,
realized
go for it.
one more. I love what you said about putting your team first, and your clients will benefit from that. They're going to pick up on all the fun and the focus and the energy and the appreciation and the things that we've been talking about.
Yep.
Drew, any more you want to add?
No. This has been fantastic. I thank you for letting me drone on and on about fun culture, which I could talk about forever.
No, thank you for joining us. If a listener wants to get in touch with you, or they want to find out more about Blue Compass for potentially creating their own digital strategy, or if they've got questions about, how do you do this fun and supportive culture? How can they, what's the best way to reach you and Blue Compass?
Absolutely. So it's just bluecompass.com is our website, and you can check us out. We're on all the social channels as well. If you go to drewharden.com, that's HARDEN. All my details are there as well. My email address, you can email me, just dharden@bluecompass.com. And I'm on every social channel as well. So it's not too hard to find me.
Well, and we always recommend, listener, if you found Drew to be as engaging as we did, then go out and connect with him on social media, in particular on LinkedIn, where I know that you are posting a lot of these videos, a lot of the content that we were talking about today.
Yeah.
You can see it, and I think there's strength in numbers. When you see somebody else doing it, it gives you new ideas, and it gives you a little more confidence to recreate it in your own organization. So I think that's highly recommended that they go connect with you. Anything else for the good of the cause, Patsy, Leb?
I think we got it.
This has been fun and inspiring. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Drew, thank you. Listener, don't forget to, if you want to download this episode's companion, Let's Get Practical, we just talked about, you can find it directly on our website at thefrustratedceo.com. You can listen to this podcast in all podcast libraries. And we encourage you, please, if you're liking what you're hearing, let us know. Go ahead and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing. If you have suggestions, you can email any of us, Patrick at The Frustrated CEO, Patsy at The Frustrated CEO, and Leb at thefrustratedceo.com. Each of us would be happy to engage with you, including if you'd like to be a guest on a future show. Drew Harden from Blue Compass, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. And listener, we will see you again next time on the Frustrated CEO podcast.